Welcome back to What Arty Noobs with General Disturbance. This is the T78. It's a Tier 6 American turreted premium tank destroyer. It's located on the eastbourne of Malinovka encounter, and this one is under the command of Royal Flying Corps. Game on. Oh well, we're missing the engine noises again. Dear wargaming. Well, some people have actually told me that they deliberately switch off the engine noises because you can hear enemy vehicles moving through the underbrush close by, and he just got shot in the rear by that Stug 3G, who obviously now is not going to get their high caliber, but he was spotted there by the enemy Type 64 over in the bush, so he's going to have to stay low just for the moment before he pops up to take a shot. Now, this tank is basically a cross between a Hellcat and a Chaffee tank, the M24. And the difference is really that it has a 90mm gun, but it's got the maneuverability of the Chaffee. So it's a bit of a handle, a bit of a basket case, you might say. Bit of a handful, that's the word I was looking for, to actually control it, because it doesn't turn very well. But it does have that 90mm, and well, that first shot was aimed at an M10 RBFM. He didn't get spotted, but he did pull back carefully just to avoid being shot at if he was spotted. Now, as many of you know, the Hellcat didn't have a 90mm. All of the Hellcats that actually saw action had 76mm guns. Yes, they were armed with the stock gun, which you see in the game, and of course it's got a much better fire rate than the 90mm. The only 90mm gun that saw action on a tank destroyer during the Second World War was the M36 Jackson. Okay, still no sign of that M10, but I presume he's still there, just not made himself known. If he shoots up at the hill, we might get a sighting of him. Now, oh, there he is. He did shoot. And he's out the game now. But look at this. We've got an AMX 12 ton who parked himself directly behind. And look at, he's done it again. Somebody else has done it. And they've shot Royal Flying Corps in the rear. And actually, he just bounced around. That came from an enemy Type T34, the Chinese version. And he's either behind that rock or he's behind the other bush, the spotting bush. Now, I'm sure that the AMX 12 ton could see that Royal Flying Corps has actually got 2 ace tankers in this vehicle. They're marked on the rear. The achievements are actually marked on the rear of his vehicle. Sorry, that was me trying to take control of the camera there for a brief moment so I could look at the rear. Oh, just hit the top of the turret there. Mind you, that is the weak spot. Sometimes the shells tend to go very, very high when you want them to actually go straight to the spot. Yes, you can see there's the second ace tanker mark on the rear of the vehicle. So surely the the AMX 12 ton driver should have realised that he's got somebody there who he really doesn't want to cause any problems for. Nashorn, too far forward, shouldn't be ever spotted by the enemy because they're so weak on their armour. It's basically non-existent, really. And, oh no, that's bad news. A P43 Tur, the Tier 7 Italians, managed to make his way quite a long way forward, and he's within view range. So at this moment, Royal Flying Corps needs to work out, is he going to shoot or spot now, because he's so close to these guys. If he does shoot, he's probably going to get some fire back. And oh, there's the enemy T67. Can't ignore that. Yep, because he got the kill. But he has to pull back. Funnily enough, he wasn't seen. Now, I'm wondering if he actually does have Sixth Sense. I'm sure he does, because if he's got 2 ace tankers, he must have it. Yes, he does. Good. And just behind him, we can see there's that wreck. Just a bit of a nuisance getting in the way. Trying to get a shot on the Tiger P. Might be able to get a shot on that P43 turret. He's certainly getting spotting on the guy. There are 3 down on the enemy at the moment. The enemy's got the top of the hill, and they're trying to push down, but they are suffering. And that Nashorn was way too far forward. As I said, you should never be seen if you're in a Nashorn, because otherwise you are going to get taken out of the game. That Wolverine, yeah, he made a big mistake as well. He's out of the game, but he was being, so pull back quick. You can see that this T78, and it's in the proper camo for the T78, because this is a specific style that was only put out for the T78, the cactus style, and it doesn't maneuver very well. I did say that right at the start. It's a bit of a handful when it comes to maneuvering. It doesn't traverse well. The turret is slow to traverse anyway, simply because it's a Hellcat turret, and Hellcat turrets are notoriously slow. Wait for ages for the gun to turn round. But he's got the rear of that Type T34. If he can get this one in, he might be able to get it. And he does. Beautiful. That's his 4th kill. And now what he's doing is quite unusual, because he's actually pushing into enemy territory. They've actually turned the tables, and instead of being 3 tanks down, they're now 4 tanks ahead on the enemy. And there's only 3 tanks left. One of them's behind him, and that's the SU-100Y, the box tank. And he's now looking for that VK3001P, and then the enemy Arty, the Fifi. So they've turned the battle around completely, and in no small part that's down to Royal Flying Corps, because he does have 4 kills. He's managed to pick off the enemy. Oh, and yep, you've suddenly been spotted. But you're not a one-shot, unfortunately. And he survived the bounce from a VK. Oh, and how did that not penetrate the rear of the vehicle? Well, he's coming this way. Can we get it into... Oh, that's the Fifi. And he takes him out with a shot to the cupola. But we now know where the Fifi is. It's a miracle that Arty round actually hit the tracks. Either that or it was an armor piercing. Was it an armor piercing? It doesn't show. It was a heat round. That's why. And it's a heat round that hit the tracks. It won't penetrate. Okay, there's the Fifi. He should have fired HE. And there's 1 shot to kill, and that wins the game, and also gives Royal Flying Corps a Top Gun. And the game's over. Is he in there? And here's the end of battle results, and it was an ace tanker for Royal Flying Corps in the T78. He managed to get a spotter badge for spotting at least 1,000 hit points of damage, a fire for effect for doing more damage than hit points to his own vehicle, a bruiser medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. He got 5 exactly, and finally with that last kill, the Fifi, he actually managed to get a Top Gun and get 6 kills. So let's have a look at the win 8s, 3,804, which is Super Unicum standard. Let's have a look at the team score and see where he stood. Well, he didn't do the highest damage in the game. That actually went to the Wolverine on his team, who managed 1,905 hit points of damage, but no high caliber because it wasn't 20% of the enemy hit pool. The second highest damage was the T25AT with 1,860. The third highest damage went to the CS44 with 1,848. And then we've got Royal Flying Corps with 1,720. When it came to kills, it was, yes, Royal Flying Corps got the tops with 6 kills. 3 kills went to the Wolverine, 2 kills went to the CS44, who also picked up a steel wall, as well as the Hellcat, and 2 members of the enemy team, their Fifi and their Nashorn. I reckon he really regrets firing a heat round at Royal Flying Corps instead of an HE. If he fired an HE, he might have done some damage, or at least to disable him. But because he fired a heat round that hit the tracks, all it made was... well, just all it did is a critical hit, that's all. And when it came to base XP, yes, Royal Flying Corps got that one. So he's got 2 out of 3. 1,316 base experience points, the only player over 1,000. 999 went to the Hellcat, and 952 went to the CS44. The Striv 74 also picked up a Confederate in that game. RoyalFlyingCorps fired 20 rounds in that game, got 14 direct hits and 11 penetrations. Damage of 1,720 hit points, of which 995 were at more than 300 meters. He received 3 hits, all 3 were non-penetrations. He was incredibly lucky. Some of the shots actually came from, or one of them came from a Type T34, bounced off him when he was, well, when he was actually in the aim, and I think it was, well, he was actually, no, he was just pulling back at the moment when he was being trolled by the AMX-12 ton behind him. And of course that didn't pen, and of course then the Fifi didn't pen right at the end of the game. So yeah, very, very lucky not to get penned, because this vehicle has virtually no armor. It's 25mm at the front, sides, and on the turret the same as the sides and the rear. But the strongest armour is actually at the front of the turret of this tank. It's only 76mm, so it's very thin armour. It's easy to pen, but luckily every enemy that fired a round at RoyalFlyingCorps hit the weak spot, not the weak spots, the hard points, the parts that you can't pen. 220 hit points of damage were blocked by armour. 3 enemy vehicles were spotted, 8 enemy vehicles were damaged, 6 were killed, and 1,710 hit points of spotting assist. And I guess most of that was the tanks that were actually going down the side of the hill, coming down the hill from the top, and were being spotted by RoyalFlyingCorps even whilst he was shooting in other directions. So yes, he was actually getting dual credits there. He was firing in one direction, spotting in another. On a premium count, he earned 64,593 credits, got 32,297 from personal reserves, total of 96,890 altogether. Because he used standard ammo in that game, he actually ended up with 91,690 credits profit. And this is another reason to have a T78. It's relatively cheap. It's got a reasonably good gun with good alpha, 240 alpha, so it can do a lot of damage reasonably quickly. And so in a reasonable game, as you see here, 20 shots fired, 14 direct hits, and those 14 direct hits, well, the 11 penetrations, generated 91,000 profit overall. So you can see, mind you, that's with the boosters. It certainly is a very good tank destroyer to have if you want to generate credits. 35 bonds for that battle. 1,974 XP, 592 for this being a premium vehicle, took away 2,566 experience points altogether. So you can see this little tank destroyer is actually quite good. In fact, I rather like it. I must admit, I bought one when it first came out. I thought, well, this is very odd because it's basically a Hellcat for the same price as some of the other tank destroyers that are on sale. But it's actually very capable because it's a turreted tank destroyer. With the capability of a Chaffee, although it hasn't got that turning ability, its traverse is diabolically bad. But yes, it's very, very much worthwhile having if you want to generate credits. And that was a really good game by RoyalFlyingCorps because he was actually generating double bubble. As I said, he was firing in one direction and spotting in another. So he was earning credits every which way. I hope you enjoyed that replay. If you did, please give this video a like, do subscribe to our channel, leave a little comment down below because it feeds the algorithm. And thank you for watching.